Hello everybody, and welcome back to the LJL Unofficial. I am still your host, Alex, otherwise known as by Mars Swan here, and I'm of course joined by the marvelous good brother duo. Gentlemen, we just saw Sengoku give a statement, partly to the jesters, but maybe that letter was intended for their matchup this time round, and that's going to be against Detonation FocusMe. Gentlemen, we know how big of a match this is, and I can see Initial Eyes wants to just go for it. Oh!
Do it. Yeah, I really do. This is a huge return matchup of the finals. This is Sengoku Gaming, the Pretenders, the Warring Kingdoms versus the Shogunate, that Tokugawa Shogunate of DFM. They are sat out in Kyoto, or rather Roppongi, kind of, out in Tokyo, holding on to the crown, and they have some pretenders to see off who look damn good in their first game.
They definitely look damn good, but I mean, Nymera.
Yes.
DFM were our spring split champions, and they had a defining run throughout the regular spring split as well. What are your expectations coming into this, and for DFM, if I may add?
Yeah, so DFM, of course, lost in the Juggernaut match to Sengoku. We alluded to that several times in the previous cast, and it was a close 3-2 loss to Sengoku, but a loss nonetheless. Come around to finals after they've just blasted their way through V3.
Definitely.
I don't think I can call it close. Sengoku played well, actually. I wasn't too discouraged by their performance, but DFM, they adapted well, and they showed up big. Hopefully, they've retained momentum. This is their first game we've seen in the split. I want to see a huge match today.
Well, I mean, both of these teams will have the opportunity of momentum on their side, depending on who wins. If DFM get it, well, they'll have their momentum going in against the Hawks. But for Sengoku versus DFM, these are two teams that throughout the regular spring split looked dominant. But it took Sengoku a few weeks to get there. Do we think, gentlemen, it's going to take Sengoku a few weeks to get there, or have they already started that on a ground running, or was that just a good matchup for them and they just kind of got there against the Jesters?
May I offer you Exhibit A? A man who wears a mask, lives in a cave, and comes out with a dark, growly voice. His name is the Blank Knight. Don't know if you've heard of him before.
I thought you were talking about Hecarim, and I was like, that was Cog Cog. That was Cog Cog, mate. Yeah. Wrong team.
No. Used to play for this quite famous team called SK Telecom.
Nymera likes them. Nymera
I think
likes
he might.
them.
I think he might. And it turns out that when he's on form and when he's on Lee Sin, he can absolutely obliterate people.
Perriam was part of them as well, I think, right?
Yeah, he did all right.
Yeah, it might well have been. Might well have subbed in for this guy called Faker.
Oh, no. Who's that?
No idea. But I know all eyes, might want to gravitate towards that bot lane. It's been a hot spot in the finals and stuff, but my eyes personally are in that jungle. Steel and Blank are so pivotal to the way these teams play their early games.
The jungle main picks the jungle as their spot to watch. Who am I to deny that pleasure to? I wonder if Nymera might pick their main lane. Nymera, where's your part of the map to watch?
I think that the player that played the best in the finals for Sengoku was Pyrian. He came out swinging today as well in their first match. But Seros is very inventive, massively creative, and the entire team very, very cohesive around his strange picks. There's some random vitamin D on the stream. Sorry, I was just confused.
Beautiful Japanese.
Sorry, yeah,
look at me, only me, not the official me.
Sorry, I think the mid lane, particularly Seros, was very impressive in the finals matchup and the semifinals too. So I have to have my eyes there too. Although it's going to be a complete team effort, as it always is. The draft phase is huge for DFM. I want to see how they've adapted to patch 10.11. Could be anything.
And for me, I'm actually interested mostly in the top lane, especially seeing that Apperman had such a good performance. And, may I add, we do get to see one of our MVPs and our spring split MVP in that top lane, Ebby himself. I can't not look. And how these patches have turned out and what we've been seeing in other regions just favors Ebby hugely. We've already seen this Wukong before. Gentlemen, we have to assume that Wukong's going to be played in this game or banned, right? Surely. Or set,
right? I mean, Ornn's still pretty good. Set's still very good. There are options.
Yeah, and they all feel like good Ebby options, which is the terrifying thing. Wukong, Hecarim, feel like they fit into Ebby's playstyle. Is that kind of bruise it, engage, tanky lane dominance to them that's just really obnoxious to play
Warlock,
against.
Assassin, Gunslinger, and, Priest, Mage.
Just to call out, guys, that the official stream is agreeing with the best analysts from Springsplit. They're focusing on that jungle matchup. So, just a little bit of...
So, gentlemen, before we get into the pick and ban phase and Initializer's ego grows any further inflation,
pop it.
Let's put a pin in it now, and I'm going to rip that Band-Aid off. We didn't do it for our previous matchup, as pick and ban phase came up a little bit too quickly for me, and I wasn't expecting it. Who is winning this match, gentlemen?
We did some prediction games over on Leaguepedia as well, so you can go find that if you're part of our Discord and all that stuff. I've predicted DFM to win. They were very scary in finals. I have no reason to believe they'll be any less scary today.
Okay. I'm completely concurring with Nymera. I believe DFM come in as the favourites, and rightly they should do, until they prove that they are not who they say they are. They've got to be the favourite in pretty much every match coming into this split.
I think that's a very fair thing. I also picked DFM. But now seeing that statement of a game from Sengoku, I do feel a little bit uneasy about my pick, as it really could go either way. I do want to repeat before we go any further, this is going to be our match of the day. We did happen to join the official stream on that decision, or maybe they joined us.
Clearly joined us. We're the trendsetters here. Yeah.
Oh, we really are, and we sometimes disagree with them as well. Go on, Nymera.
Yeah. So Lexi, I'm just really interested because obviously you talked quite a lot about Appman and focused on the top lane. Yes. I am of the opinion that he really suffers when he's off of Aatrox. What do you think that he could do to assuage that kind of fear from me?
Well, as we go into pick and ban phase, I'm going to give my opinion on this before we fully transition over. I would like him to start playing more carry top laners, specifically Kayle, which is a pick we've seen in a few other regions already coming out, and we saw it in the LEC yesterday. So
we did,
to mixed results, but I actually think that Kayle could definitely be a pick that Apperman
played that,
I think Apperman could have that in his wheelhouse. But that's where I'm going to end that, and I'm going to pass it straight over to you both to cover this pick and ban phase. Good luck to both these teams.
Thank you again, Maswan, and good thoughts as we are into pick and ban. Let's run over those team rosters one more time for those of you just joining us. Sengoku Gaming are back on the blue side again, and it is still Apperman in the top lane, Blank in the jungle, Pyrion in that mid lane, and the superstar bot lane of Yutori Miyashi and Enti.
And speaking of superstars, I could name any player off DFM and have the same way to describe them. It's Ebby in the top lane, Steel in the jungle, Saros in mid lane, and Utapon and Gang down in the bot lane, and they'll be on red side.
Well, to start off this clash of titans, this refresher, rehash of the summer, or rather, spring finals, we've got a few bans to kick off. We've got Karma, Yumi, and Aphelios take off table by Sengoku Gaming, and TF, Syndra, and of course the ubiquitous Varus, removed by Detonation FocusMe.
Still leaves Ezreal up and available. Such high priority. It's the first pick champion across the entire world right now. It's just very good. Won't be paired up with the Yumi this time. We still have stuff like Nautilus available. Ezreal Nautilus, still a very fun lane. You can have stuff like the Thresh as well.
Braum.
There are options. Braum's a little less. That's a little more situational.
Yes.
Because you can pick that into something like Ornn and MF, stuff where you've got a very clear use for your door. But
speaking of things a little bit back in meta, Senna is going to be picked up. She's got more new strats than ever. Grasp and Frozen Mallet is the current flavor of the month on this patch. Worth keeping an eye to see, but that's the build. See what else is locked in here. We've still got quite a lot to think about. Could be a support option, I suppose, if we want to duo something up with that center early on.
Well,
but it might be that Pantheon, which DFM do like to flex around a bit.
So Ebby plays it, Steel plays it. It's a very, very strong early ganking champion. We saw it played in the finals against Sengoku
Steel
Gaming.
played so well.
They used the semi-global ultimate so ridiculously well around Baron. They forced the lights out around Baron, swept out all the wards, and then just kept engaging onto isolated targets with stuff like Abyssal Voyage from Atam Kench, like the Grand Starfall from Pantheon, and punishing Sengoku when they overstepped. Well, someone who finds it very hard to overstep is Graves. It's been locked in. He just runs up into your face and you have to kind of accept it.
And you know what was left? Unbound versus Pyrion. Zoe is also there, and throw in an Ezreal Q and True Shot Barrage. That collateral damage and a Paddle Star. That is a lot of long-range explosive damage from Sengoku Gaming.
I very much like these first 3 picks from Sengoku. If a sleep lands, if any other CC lands from their other 2 picks, which they might lock in next as well.
Oh, Seros, it could well be his patented Zoe counter pick of the Xerath. He debuted it versus V3 Gaming. Rather V3 Esports, apologies for the mispronunciation of their name. And he's certainly thinking about it. And it's locked in.
It's locked in. Okay, so...
Could be flex support, I suppose.
Go watch V3 versus DFM in that semi-final matchup. Game 1, Seros picked that Xerath into Ace's Zoe. It was fun to know... Well, sorry, not fun. It was kind of intriguing to notice that they did ban the Zoe away from Sengoku in the finals, though. They didn't want to play against Pyrian Zoe. I thought that Ace kind of played a bit disrespectfully in that game 1, and I thought Pyrian might be able to do a bit better there. Now we get to see it on stage, because we didn't get to see that in the finals. Going through the second round of bans, Bar's been taken away.
Your least favorite champion has been removed. He's very strong right now as well.
Get out of here. Go, take your chimes with you.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Ask some other time about why Nymera has a rampant hatred of the champion Bard, but for now, we'll have to move on and see what the rest of the bans are.
Bard mains hate him with this one simple trick.
Banning him.
That's
normally the way forward. But let's see what they've gone for. They've gone for Elise. They still think that Pantheon is flexible, and they don't want to give Pantheon Elise as a combo. It's just a lot of point-and-click CC, practically.
I mean, there is the chance that Xerath does go towards bot lane.
Yeah, absolutely there is.
There is that chance. I don't think it's a high one, but there is a chance there.
Yeah.
You can poke out stuff like the Ezreal in that lane.
I suppose maybe it would have been the Elise support, the Hen style. What a glorious pick that was.
I would really like from Sengoku? I would love for them to pick up a Soraka. I think that would be really,
that wouldn't be a bad idea. I mean, I could also see it picked up, but I suppose you could do it with DFM for just more healing.
The thing is, though, there's so much burst on the side of Sengoku, Soraka becomes a little bit less pronounced. Whereas you put it on Sengoku, they can just have the staying power and just hold this line down around an objective and just sustain up while Zoe looks for a pick.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few options here for both teams. I'm aware Lulu is still available. It's a pretty powerful one. Ornn might be an excellent pick here for Ebby. It's engaged. It's also something that can sit in front of a lot of this poke, which would be quite nice to try and offer some sort of meat shielding for the rest of the squads, especially when you have got such a kind of immobile backline like the Senna and the Xerath.
And let's have a chat about...
What Lexamon's not banned?
Yeah, Wukong.
Journey to the West might be enacted here by Ebby. Wukong is locked in. Anybody who has not been following the LPL may not be aware of how utterly broken that champion is right now.
He's such a good team fighter. His laning phase, not the strongest, but Ebby is a very strong laning player. So we'll expect some good stats out of him either way. They have a way to reach the backline in multiple ways now. They've got the Dawning Shadow from Senna's ultimate, they have the Grand Starfall, and they have the Cyclone from the Wukong as well. So plenty of ways to try and rattle this Ezreal Zoe that wants to be sat in the backline. Who will be in the front line, though, will be NT on that Nautilus. No Callisto or anything like that. Funnily enough, not been banned in either of the games or picked in either of the games thus far, which is something which I probably would have seen more priority on, if I'm honest. But NT will be on that Nautilus. Tank support, lots of initiation, potentially a way to add that CC onto this burst combo which Sengoku are building up.
Really, really true. And of course, Apperman's Aatrox
is back. Okay.
does come across. Apperman will not be removed from that champion. Like there was the potential discussion of, see what DFM's last pick is here. Potentially a support is what I'm thinking about. They've still got some flexibility in their draft, perhaps. So we'll see what they're thinking about.
Maokai bot lane, probably.
Yeah, it could be a Maokai. Of course, if it's a fasting Senna, you can get that Maokai towards some items where he does still get to farm up. Senna's still useful. I quite like it.
Well, so as the Wukong was locked in and you popped off a bit, I was about to say about, what pairs up well with Senna. It's stuff like Tom Kench, we talked about that before. Taric, Maokai, they're really good. And the Maokai has been the kind of the flavor of the month. Scales up very well in a lot of ways. Maokai is just a strong champion right now. Does pretty well into some melee matchups as well. I do think you can get poked out a bit in this lane by the Ezreal and Nautilus, because of course you have saplings to kind of give you some poke of your own, but of course Ezreal is just very hard to contend with in lane.
There's a lot of healing in that lane as well, between Sap Magic and Piercing Shadows, or Piercing Darkness.
Piercing Darkness, yes. It's the
Piercing
Dawning
Shadow.
Shadow.
Piercing Shadow would be a cool name, but whatever.
No, because you've got the Piercing Light from Lucian.
I know.
Piercing Darkness.
But like, just being, it's almost too on the nose. I understand it. It makes sense. Worth saying at this point as well, I'm not sure I entirely agree with you about Wukong being bad in lane. And I will tell you why. Because the LPL and in the MSC, Wukong with Conqueror was doing utterly dirty things to other Bruiser matchups in the top lane.
Well, I've heard the likes of Caps on stream and Wonder on stream,
okay.
and
I will take a pro player opinion over eye tests any day.
And some of the Korean players
all
saying on stream.
Right, so I'm wrong. Is what it is. That's fair.
It's kind of, well, it's not weak in lane. It's just not inspiring in lane.
Okay.
And then you come through to one-item team fights, and you have fun. Finally, yeah, you get to have fun as a champion.
Okay, so it turns out that this is the reason I'm not the color caster, rather I'm the play-by-play.
Because you have eyes.
I do have eyes, and my eye test was like, this looks pretty good. But Nymera is a stats machine. He cares not for what his eyes tell him, but only what his big wrinkly brain does.
Things which are important to me in this draft. One of the things in the finals which I was really clamoring for towards the end of the series was that Yutomi was put onto misfortune for 4 games in the finals, and he achieved very little because he was just disrupted in the backline every single time he tried to go for an ult. He has the Ezreal this time, the strongest AD carry on the patch, maybe besides Varus. I would probably say it's the Ezreal favored. He has all of the playmaking ability in his little bucket, which is got his bucket of playmaking. He's got all of it. It's full. It's overflowing with Ezrealness.
Not a cup of care, it's a cup of playmaking.
Cup of playmaking. I'm looking for Yutomi to salvage some lost pride in the finals.
Yes.
That's what I'm looking for. As much as, we can talk about the mid, well, any other role. All of these roles are important, and all of them are very stellar players. For me, the big difference between finals and the way they were drafting around that right now is Yutomi got some agency.
It does. To see how that works front to back for Sengoku Gaming, it's how they like to draft. It's pretty standard. They've got the Graves, which is the new flavor of the month in the jungle. But DFM, a little bit more roaming. A little bit more. They've got the Wukongs, the Pantheons, the Senna, and the Xerath, the ways to kind of impact from random places with their ultimates and the like. Could be a little bit more creativity, some more flanking coming in. We'll see how they play it out. I'm kind of curious.
And I like how DFM haven't lost any of their zoning potentially. They have saplings. They're good for zoning. You've got Xerath. If you end up getting into the river first, then Xerath gets his W, his EQ. It's just a lot of damage. Senna throwing out Ws, throwing out Qs. Once you get the frozen mallet, get the slows on that as well. There's a lot of ways which DFM showed they were very proficient at playing around to just make sure objective fights don't go down easily. Make sure that they're always contesting in some form, even when they're a bit behind in the game or really shouldn't be in a position to do so. They find ways to just kind of get under the skin and make things a little bit harder.
Completely agree. I mean, I suppose I have to put this to you now. Who are you favoring in this draft?
I think if a bubble lands onto anyone, you die. So goes that one game.
Room, indeed.
The dark room. Yes.
Great
it's if any CC lands, and the skill shots are lined up, you get killed. You do. I think that even the Maokai is a threat of that, particularly if Piran gets ahead on this Zoe. Speaking of that Zoe, I mean, we saw that DFM shut down the last Zoe they played against in V3. I need to see that happen again because Piran Zoe, and we saw what Piran could do on lane dominant matchups, is disgusting. Yes. In fact, I believe it was game 1 or 2 of the finals. In the finals of the Juggernaut match where Piran played the Zoe versus Seros's on mid, and yeah, that was pretty impressive there. Well, it's taken a little while to get back into game there, which is why you are seeing our face a little bit more. We now have a Shouting Madness on the screen on the main stream as well. I think we're getting into games sooner rather than later.
We are, and I think it is finally time for the match of the day. It's the match of the week. It is the rehash of the finals. It is time to see what Pride can do between these two teams. It is Sengoku Gaming versus DetonatioN FocusMe, and we are onto the Rift with some pretty interesting compositions to keep our eyes on.
And Rift Rivals don't exist anymore as a tournament, but Rift Rivals we have today in everything but name. It is, actually no, not completely. It's not an international tournament. It's not anything. I was just going, they're rivals. They're on the Rift. Sure, that kind of works.
That works. I see. That works. Yeah. They're rivals on the Rift. I agree. Yeah. It's just not international rivals on the Rift.
Yeah. Interesting to see the 5-man start. One thing we talked about DFM towards the end of the split in spring was that if you can disrupt their level 1, they lose a lot of efficacy. They really don't like playing around. We'll call them scuffed level 1s. The problem is that, and one of the great things is, that Maokai is a good level 1 support. Nautilus is a very good level 1 support. You can't really do these blind invades as either team because you don't want to lose out on that as well. If you end up getting counter stacks, if you go in as a 5-man unit and you find another 5-man unit, things get very messy. There's no clear winner in a level 1, so we're going to have this 5-man fan.
I'm with you. I'm also just aware that Xerath and Pantheon is a lot of CC versus that Zoe who has run Spellbook but has not started with Cleanse or anything. So could potentially be, oh man, here comes that level 1. They're going to run into him, but there's actually been waiting for it. Blank's in trouble. Deros is coming over as well. That's the use of the W from Xerath. Flash out from Blank, who's now trying to get in, but Apperman is in trouble, taking a lot of damage, but the Qs are coming out. Comperian do enough wet. They're going to think about flashing a DFM First Blood to the Pantheon, and the level 1 goes, so wrong for Sengoku Gaming.
Speaking of level 1s, I was thinking, supports, they're normally the level 1 champions you want to look out for. First Blood goes over to Steel. We talked about Sengoku only having that 35% First Blood percentage across the entirety of the last split. And
they don't even burn a Summoner Spell.
And they don't even burn a Summoner Spell. They get 2 flashes for their troubles. They get a kill. And it's going to be a delayed jungle start for Blank as well. It's, talking about disrupted level 1s. Sengoku tried to do something to DFM. Ended up getting bitten.
Man. That is pretty rough. Check out that stat box.
I wonder how that changes given the level 1. I wonder.
Yeah, I do concur with you. That is going to be an interesting stat bot to check. Of course, that means Pantheon is not disrupted. In fact, gets First Blood, is already onto his Krugs. He's clearing that red side, and with Ebby kind of just a little bit behind his level 2. Maybe there's room for a level 3 gank here from the Pantheon. We'll have to see how. Remember, Apperman has no flash.
However, it is worth noting, Zoe managed to get the shove in on the first wave. It is important versus Xerath, just making sure that you can kind of take the trades and the wave on your own terms. And that does help this early laning matchup. If you do end up surviving this early lane as Zoe, and you get to your ultimate and you have, not a massive discrepancy in items, you've not lost, you're not like a lost chapter to a Ludens or something like that, you can get kill pressure onto this Xerath. That's why he's run Cleanse.
Yes, and a bit of a shove in this bot side is what's going on right now. No cleanses down there, it's worth pointing out.
No cleanses, no, not at all.
But the shove is coming in from DFM down that top side as Wukong is kind of under his tower at the top side, knowing that perhaps with Pantheon backing and going down towards his bot side, doesn't really want to be shoving up. And of course, Dark and Blade is a pretty good way of shoving in waves.
And it's still going to be, a very farm-oriented path from Blank. He is probably the best farming jungler in the LJL in terms of his pathing for that. His farm numbers are always very high. He's going to find that the Krugs are gone here. Level 3 for both the top lane as well. No, level 4 takes over for Apperman there. So with that clone available from Ebby, Blank will not look for any kind of attempt onto this top lane.
Always really tricky to work around Wukong and his clone, especially when you're under his tower early on. Could just be a bit of a risk. Pantheon just sticking some wards down, gets that bottom Scuttle Crab, is going to think about going back into his jungle, clearing out that empty overall. But no more to be found there. Worth pointing as well, as Seros went for an early back, got that second Doran's Ring and a control ward just to kind of give that bit of extra HP, give that little bit of extra safety in that lane.
Well, it's also worth knowing, something which we talked about a bit before, but it is the Grasp Center. You still go for the support kind of build. You're not farming, you're still fasting. Dodging out on the Qs there, doing well in the CS so far. This is what we're talking about. It's not actually a clean counter matchup. You do need the lane to go certain ways with Xerath. But talking about that bot lane, that Graph Center is going to be much harder to blow up. And we're talking about this burst combo from Sengoku that will become relevant at some point. Pirin picking up a cleanse from a minion, using the speed to run back to his tower. He was looking to reset anyway. He'd used all of his corrupting pot charges. And going to get out scot-free from the early laning phase.
He will indeed. We'll come up with about a 10 CS or so lead, or probably just less than that by the time Seros clears up the wave. That's part of the price you pay for backing in the way you do for that early pressure. But now, steal over the wall. There's a route onto NT, but of course you can buffer out of it with that dredge line. So
I believe actually, please, the route missed, I believe.
Oh, did it? Well, either way, NT uses a dredge line and is safe from harm thus far. Steal in the mid lane. Ebby taking a lot of damage, and indeed you were correct that it turns out you can get chunked out pretty hard in lane.
No, Wukong is not a laning oriented champion. It's not the win lane, win game champion, which something like a Renekton can be in certain metas and certain matchups. Wukong wants to get through to Blade the Rune King and Black Cleaver Triforce, something like that, and just take a dump on the backline. Yeah. That's what you do. You run into a team fight, you have your double cyclone, and you just wreck team fights.
Yeah, it's going to be Blank taking out the Raptors and the Krugs for the price of this Infernal Drake early for DFM. He was on a ward taking the Raptors, it's worth pointing out, so DFM know exactly where Graves is likely to be. But that is decent farm advantage now for the Graves, which is exactly what he wants to do, whereas Steel is definitely playing to his win conditions as well with the early power of the path.
And that's fine, right? That bot lane is getting pushed in by the Maokai Senna. The Ezreal's not losing farm, of course, keeping up very healthily in that regard, so Blank decides to path for the micro advantages he can get, knowing that the Dragon will not really be contestable, even with the Zoe winning in this mid lane matchup so far. And just take away some Krugs, go back to his own jungler because his Gromp was still available, and make the most of this farm.
Make the most of this farm. W lands for a bit of poke. In comes that Q as well, and doing at least amount of work with the Arcana Pulse there.
You will do indeed. That's the Cyclone committed into the top
wow,
lane.
Then Apperman's actually desperately low. He's got the wallet, has to flash out, but Emmy gets the solo kill. Well, CS lead might be one thing, but the moment the level 6 comes through for the Wukong, and Apperman is put absolutely to the sword, or at least in this case, the staff.
And repeat after me, just Apperman things. Sometimes he just dies in these situations. He's trying to push up, get priority, knows that Blank was playing around the top side for so long, but of course he's backed, he's nowhere close. Ebby uses the opportunity, uses that double knockup from the Cyclone, stacks up his Conqueror very quickly, and flashes in for that final last hit.
Just so well played. He's backed away as well now, gets himself some swords, he's got an Executioner's Calling. That man is off to the races, as we kind of wondered whether he would be on a Wukong eventually.
And we were expecting him to do something on this Wukong, but the solo kill is the cherry on top. Ebby is one of our, well, no, he is absolutely the best top player in our region, and maybe the best player in our region, flat out. This guy does things in lanes which he probably shouldn't do. He does things in team fights that people should definitely not do. It's not family friendly at all.
It's not family friendly, but it's worth pointing out. Sengoku Gaming have a very slight gold lead here from some of their laning advantages, even with the early kills going the way of DFM. Sengoku Gaming don't quite land that hook, worth saying. And a bit of trading around this Raptor camp thus far, but all it is the smoke screen coming down, and Steel walks away. I believe he secured most of his Raptors there. But the Rift Herald will be started by Blank as kind of a result of this. Wukong is shoved under his tower. Xerath is clearing out a wave, and Pyrion will wander over to assist his Korean teammate.
I mean, the bonus of Apperman dying is that at least Cyclone's not available. That means they probably can't fight this Herald. Hook lands onto the Maokai.
Yeah, Maokai does land. They're going in with a Twisted Advance, though, and that's a decent shove back. Decent double route there from Utapon using the Grasping Shadow. Shadows. What is it? Grasping. I've got the grasp in my mind, which is the problem. I'm just like
Sap Magic from Maokai.
Sap Magic. No, I'm thinking of the route from Senna. That's my name is completely blank.
Last Embrace.
And here we go.
Cyclone
Last
top
Embrace.
lane.
Cyclone up, double knock up again. Apperman is taking a lot of damage, getting chunked out, but Blank is coming down, gonna try and find his way over the wall, taking a lot of damage now as Ebby. A Dawning Shadow comes through, but here comes the Arcano Pulse. Can they find the kills? But no, they can't quite. Steel is really close to getting this kill though. Does secure it now. Blank is around, but it'll be a 1-for-1 trade in the end.
I'm actually not sure this is going to end as a 1-for-1. Blank has the red buff. He keeps slowing him. He's going to keep dashing forward.
Blank taking a... He's not got a lot of mana, though. He's probably taking a big amount of burn. Pyrion's got flash. Maybe he can find something, but just use it to get to the wave.
He does. Okay, so with that last Comet Spear empowered through with that huge chunk onto that Graves, it will be just that, the 1-for-1. This time, it's going to be Ebby going down. I'm not sure if it was a shutdown after that was said and done. Either way, it's going to be Seros left alone in mid lane, and we'll secure a plate in this mid lane. Pyrion kind of losing that just for the purpose of the roam.
Yeah, for the purpose of the roam. And Apperman now 0-3-1 is a bit of a rough space to be in on that Aatrox, but just Apperman things sometimes. It's gone towards the Bramble Vest.
Also worth noting, of course, I mean, like that center ult came through. That is now on cooldown, but that is what you can do with that global ultimate. I was about to say semi-global. I'm like, no, it definitely goes across the whole map. And when you're doing it in that angle as well, from the bot lane to the top lane, if people are fighting against a wall in the river, it's very hard to dodge out on that damage.
Yes.
You pretty much always hit the shield, and it allows your team to be a bit more mobile in that area and make sure they still get that as well. Shield came through for Ebby, damage came through onto Apperman and Blank. It was some good trading.
It was Darkin Blade there did catch Ebby, even with the use of the clone. And of course, we did mention the Bramble Vest earlier. Also worth saying that there is a Mountain Drake spawning in 30 seconds, which will be the second Drake of the game. Cyclone will likely be up in time for that. It's not the longest cooldown on that ability.
TP though, and Apperman will do. So TP advantage over to the Aatrox. That's something which is important. Looks like vision being cleared out by DFM in preparation for this dragon. As you were saying, if we'll see if the DFM are going to high roll and get themselves an Ocean Soul, or they're going to get themselves a Cloud Soul. I don't think Sengoku wants to fight around this right now. Honestly, they want the 2-item spike on the Ezreal. At that point, maybe you can start poking out Gang, poking out Steel, poking out maybe even Utapon as well. Try and poke around with these bubbles too. But until that point, you're just going to have to seed a couple of these early objectives.
Yeah. Okay, you can see the pings go towards that top tower. Graves is pathing up that way. Does have the Rift Herald, which would be an Ocean Soul roll. DFM have already got those 2 Drakes. That's good news. Oh, Sleep does land there. Maybe going to take a fair amount of damage. Is Seros? He's got a potion in inventory and he'll use it. But here comes that use of the Eye of the Herald in the top side. It will be the 2 versus 1 up here. Be sticking around, going to try and get the wave cleared out. They'll get plates, and that'll be about it.
Okay, so 2 plates down from the Herald. The first one already taken by Apperman, so there's only just the 1 remaining. Oh, no, sorry, there are 2 technically. So 3 taken over all. Yeah, this one. There are 5, and if you minus 2 from that, that means there are 3. Fight in the top lane again, maybe.
Maybe taking a bit low. Here comes Blank.
He just used his clone.
Did just use his clone. Has got the ultimate, though. Knocks them up for quite a lot of damage. They're flashing in and just get it pretty easy. Here comes the bot lane dive, though. NT is still pretty tanky. He's got the Aftershock. It'll just be a plate instead of the bot lane. Steel takes a massive chunk from the True Shot Barrage, though.
That was the Essence Flux ripped through him, as well as that ultimate from Ezreal. Pyrion left alone in the mid lane will take a plate for himself, just because in the similar situation that Mirror, as Seros was out of lane looking towards that bot lane, where of course they couldn't find anything. First turret going over towards Sengoku in the top lane. Worth mentioning, I was talking about first blood rates and stuff like that for Sengoku. Their first turret rate was also not as high as you might expect for a team to come second in the regular split. They had only a 39%
That's very low, actually.
But it's still, I mean, considering that they had to play against Sengoku however many times, it's not the worst thing ever.
Indeed. And we'll have to kind of continue to see how this one plays out. It is that early gold advantage to Sengoku Gaming 12 minutes in. They've got themselves about a 2,000-ish gold lead here. That's the first tower for you. But of course, DFM have got themselves those Drakes. They're going to get to a fairly powerful point. We've said what Wukong does in team fights. We know that Steel on this Pantheon's up to a pretty good start as well. There is a world where DFM definitely do some work. The Ludens will be the first pick up here for the Sengoku mid laner, though. Xerath is still a touch away from that. I'm assuming he'll get it on his next back, though.
I'd assume so. They're at similar farm numbers, and he has the 2 assists as well. Okay, Aegis coming in from Steel. I really do want to praise Pyrion for this early game. Sometimes it can be missed when a player is surviving in a matchup, which is quite hard. And Pyrion has kept up in farm, has the highest CS in the game, in fact. Got those item power spikes. There's a lot of people converging onto the mid lane, needs to keep himself safe. But Pyrion has survived so far, and he's been doing so. And what that does mean is Seros doesn't get to infect the map with his Rite of the Arcane, that ultimate, nearly as easily as he might have wanted to do.
Indeed. And he's got his Ludens now, so that's out and about. So both mid laners looking to throw out some hefty poke numbers, that's for sure. Worth pointing out that Graves here, 101, has got himself to that warrior, has got himself to the Kindle Gem, is on his way to that Black Cleaver. When there's a Black Cleaver on the Aatrox, that's the name as well. That's good news for the side of DFL. Cyclones in. Here comes the Grand Starfall. They're trying to get onto Apperman, who is being shoved around. But here comes the Flash. Here comes the W. Gonna see how much damage. Bubble. Here comes the Bubble, though. That's pretty big. Apperman taking so low, but he survives. And Blank gets the shutdown with the collateral damage. They couldn't kill him in time. Graves is there and does a lot of work.
Repeat after me. Just Apperman things. Again, he's going for the fight against Ebby, but this time Sengoku managed to rally in time to back him up. He's gone tanky, has the Bramble Vest, has a Black Cleaver, and he knows that he can survive in time for Brynn to land a very good bubble to stop Steel putting through some extra damage, and the kill goes on to Ebby yet again. Both of these top laners sat at 1, 3, and 2.
Oh, man alive. You could just see how long it took them to try and kill him. And the bubble for collateral damage. Such a swift response from Sengoku Gaming.
And once again, Blank sits at 100% kill participation. This early game revolving around this jungler, as we did see in that last game too. This time he's on the harder carry, though, the Graves. It will be scary. Doesn't have something like the Yuumi to keep himself buffed up, but we saw what happens when he starts running at someone like the Wukong or the Pantheon. That phase rush, if he gets ahead of them, he could definitely be a win condition for this team.
Could definitely be a win condition. That's the way to put it. It's a 3,000 gold lead, and it's a lot of that's from the tower plates. Use of the Herald on the top side definitely earned them that gold lead. Of course, the Dragons are currently in favor of DFM. third one will be spawning in 30 seconds, and I imagine that will be the next spark point for a bit of conflict.
And as much as we were ragging on F-Man for those 2 early deaths, of course, the first blood, he is 1,000 gold ahead of Evie. He is going to reach that team fight stage.
That's plates and towers.
It's plates and towers. He has a Black Cleaver already. That's helping out Blank already if he ends up attacking the same target. Bot lane, it's kind of even across the board. Mid lane, it's kind of even across the board in a lot of ways. It's mainly just this mid and top lane.
It is. Of course, there's still a Maokai we've yet to see really in a team fight here, and he's got himself to a Sunfire Cape. So, that's quite a lot of tankiness. And DFM, with all the CC and the likes that they do have, could do a lot of work. Xeros has to be a touch careful working forwards there. Sengoku Gaming are going to contest this one. Utomoriashi's on the other side. He's not necessarily in the best spot there. DFM let that dragon reset just a little, getting it back into the pit. Teleport in from behind. Gang's gone in, trying to find the way onto Blank. But here comes the Nature's Grasp. Ebby's going to find his way in. That's a huge cyclone. It's a big mock-up.
The kills, though.
Onto the fact of that double kill, actually, now for the side of Sengoku Gaming. They've already picked up 2. Ebby can't find his way to Blank either. Does finally get that shutdown there, but he's going to die in return. It's a 3-for-1 in favor of Sengoku Gaming, despite the hard engage from DFM.
The Cyclone, it was huge. If you want to kill the front line and not the back line survives. And Sengoku run away with it. That was a huge true sort barrage coming in from Utomoriashi. Not always the team fight ability you're looking out for. Huge damage from the backline. And almost a steal from there. Forgot that wasn't used from the Xerath. Some fancy feet from Utomoriashi. Get him out with a speck of damage as well. Going to go back into the replay. So the teleport is a pretty good location for it. Gets him a good route into the fight. Utomoriashi, I thought he was in a bad position because, you can't fight front to back. Turns out that's all right when it means that the Wukong's not going onto you. Hits 2 people with that ultimate from the Ezreal and gets to chase down Utapon out of the fight as well, while his other 3 members of his team go and deal with that monkey problem.
That was also the phase rush, so clutch from Blank. Ebby just couldn't quite stay on top of the jungler. And that is now a big lead for Sengoku Gaming. They stopped the dragon stacking. Exactly. This Graves, this hyperscaling jungler, is off to a great start. Piri and Zoe is off to a fantastic place. And DFM have got to try and find their way back into this game a little bit now. Of course, they have options. There are things like the Wukong that's going to do a lot of work in these team fights. The Maokai is there for some engage options. But if they can't keep their Xerath and their Senna alive, then there's going to be some trouble.
And they're not going to get themselves the super early soul because the dragon was taken away from Sengoku. This game will stall out. I am of the opinion that Sengoku outscaled DFM in a lot of ways because Ezreal will always do relevant damage once he gets to Death's Dance. He doesn't care about getting poked out by Senna and Xerath. If he hits Qs, if he has access to the winning wave, doesn't matter. Herald's going to be summoned mid. We'll see if they can hit the eye. They're hitting it once. It won't be able to stop the charge, though, and it will save the turret.
Blank's taken pretty low, but here comes the secondary engage. Gang's here. Blank's taken super low. He's got no flash, but he's got phase rush. Gets out because they just don't have enough damage. This is multiple times where DFM have found what feels like fantastic CC, and they can't secure a kill.
And they don't secure it. And what it will mean is that the Sengoku will crack this
all outer towers.
They're going to lose all their outer turrets. That's exactly what it means. Okay, so now DFM, you have a team which wants to posture, wants to start setting up around objectives and have this map pressure advantage because you have wave clear and poke. Let's see how you can do that with all of your outer turrets down compared to only just, no turrets down from the side of Sengoku's outer ring.
I will have to confess that Ebby did, in fact, manage to save that bot tier 1 for now. So that's good to know for DFM, of course. But the mid outer tower being down is bad news for Seros, who doesn't really want to be finding himself in a long lane with nowhere to retreat to. Appaman is going to find Ebby, but here comes the lockdown. Utapon has got himself a lot of damage, but Appaman is going to try and find his way around. It'll be another isolated death for the man who just can't seem to help himself.
Why do you keep doing this? Fourth death of the game for Appaman. Well, it's going to cost Sengoku their first turret loss of the game. Sat now at 3, 4, and 2 is Appaman. He's just waiting for the next team fight. That's what he's doing. He didn't burn his flash. The ultimate's on a low cooldown. It's just the gold going over. I think that was the kill going up to Ebby at the end of that.
It was not Ebby.
No, it was still. Yeah, I just remember. Okay, cool. Right, so what this does mean, though, that a large amount of people walk down onto the bot side of the map. Gang's caught.
Gang is caught, but he's got a fair amount of healing. He's pretty tanky, but I don't think it's going to be enough. He just gets destroyed in the end. Here comes Steel, but it's a 4-man push in this top side. Not enough of a wave thus far. They will just take themselves the kill.
Yeah.
And that will be it for now. Baron is up, though, and they have got a 4 versus 5. Are they thinking about it? Definitely sweeping out Vision. DFM are concerned enough to bring enough people in to see what's going on.
Yeah, so I don't think they have the they don't have the cojones to start it right now. Not when they don't have all their item breakpoints that they want. They're still waiting on the Triforce or the Iceborne Gauntlet to come through from DetonatioN, that completed Sheen item. They want Death's Dance on Apperman. They want, I mean, the Morellonomicon is already in for Pyrian. He is ready to go on this Zoe. But they're really waiting on a couple more item breakpoints. Maybe fight around the next dragon.
Ezreal has, though, just completed
That's what they're waiting for.
2-item spike. It is the Muramana transformation. It is the Iceborne Gauntlet versus quite a lot of AD damage as well. It's Xerath is the only AP threat. And yes, he's got a Ludens and a needlessly large rod, but that is not a death cap yet.
And, you know, when you were talking about, Ebby just couldn't keep sticking on that jungler there because of phase rush. Now you have to deal with an Iceborne as well.
Yeah.
There is yet another soft disengage tool. Yeah, there's nearly that double death stance for the top side of the map, line going towards that as well. That will be very important. It nullifies a lot of poke and some of the burst as well. So, yeah, the item breakpoints, when they hit for Sengoku, going to be pretty crazy.
Pretty crazy is the way to phrase it. Ebby here has got his Trinity Force. That's something. That's a big spike for Wukong.
It is.
But the third tower now goes down, and it's about a 4,000 for nearly 5,000 gold lead for Sengoku Gaming at this point. Yes. And with the Ocean Drake spawning in 15 seconds, are DFM going to want to contest? Surely you've got to think that they will want to think about it. But Sengoku Gaming have done Sengoku things and have Vivid control. It's what they love to do. Here comes DFM trying to find the way in. Gang taken low. He's going in, though. Can he find an engage? That's not bad. But Apperman is here with the World Ender. Gang's taken super low. The Dawning Shadow keeps him alive for a little bit longer. But it's not long enough. And now Ebby has had to try and find his way out. He's been taken low by the Nautilus. Depth charge. Steals in the front line using that Aegis. Survives, has to flash out. But they just can't get any damage to stick, Nymera. Steals going in. Okay. But the cleanse is rapid from Pyrian. He managed to find his way out safely. Ebby now really
kill!
And Steel turns it around, gets turned around on rather by Pyrian, who is a monster on this Zoe right now. Here comes the two-shot barrage for a second onto Ebby.
Sengoku come out swinging in this mid-game fight. It's going to secure them their second dragon of the game. This will not be an early soul. It will not be an even like a middling soul for DFM at any point. At this point, they're probably just clutching their cards and saying, all right, let's see what we can do around Baron.
Well, it feels like it, but I'm wondering, to DFM ever going to have enough damage to get through the tankiness at this point?
I think the big thing for me is that Gang, he's pretty tanky to Apperman on the Maokai. He's pretty tanky to Yutori Miyashi on that Maokai, but he is not tanky to the magic damage.
Oh, no.
He is hitting skill shot after skill shot. We see, I think right at the end of this, we see a sleep land onto steel. It's not quite a Captain Direct cleanse. I believe it actually was, an early cleanse, but then just the increased tenacity ends up getting him out of that shield vault. And then, of course, the skill shot, the Japanese sniper, Yutori Miyashi coming out with the skill shots to kill off everyone.
That's just good news. And it turns out when you've got a jungler like Blank, who can play a farm game and then carry on something like a Graves, your team could be in a pretty good space for this kind of meta.
And speaking of being in a good space, we asked the question quite a lot at the end of the spring split, saying, have Sengoku have a successful split?
Okay. Oh, and see a bit of an engage. NT's taken pretty low, but he is a tanky Nautilus. He's got the aftershock running. Here comes Pyrian and the rest of Sengoku Gaming. Ebby's taken pretty low, but that's a good lockup, and Pyrian is shut down. That's big news. Blank is now in trouble. He got down as well. That's a 2-kill lead for DFM. Apperman's going to try and do some work in the backline.
Apperman's so tanky.
He is so tanky. He's finding a lot of work, and that's 2 in return. That is a terrifying. Aatrox Steel is taking so low, and the extended fight is now a 2-for-2. Seros is here, but can he do anything? No, he can't. It's a double kill for Yutori Miyashi now. And what looked like fantastic pickups for DFM get turned around because Apperman does Apperman things. Not just isolated deaths. He's a good team fighter when he wants to be.
And you know who else just did his thing there? Yutori Miyashi. We've talked about Ezreal. We've talked about him so damn much. He hits his 2-item spike. He runs all the way through that fight. All of the tools we used to kill Pyrian. Okay, that's a good pickoff. First death of the game onto that Zoe. But this Ezreal is in the ascendancy. Has the 2-item spike. Has himself the call fields for that maxed out 40% CDR as well. He is off to the damn races.
He just is a monster. He's not quite got that death dance. No. He's stopped off for an Executioner's Calling, which makes a little sense when you're against the Senna and the Maokai.
Sure. And what's important is that, you know, he raked that ultimate across the entire team before he even turned up. The big thing about that, hitting so many targets with your ult means that your passive is mostly stacked. You get so much attack speed as well if that doesn't fall off before you re-engage in that fight. And with Apperman, as you were saying, just doing Apperman things, buying enough time in the front line, it buys a lot of time for, well, the Ezreal.
Yeah.
Just keep putting out damage. The Iceborne Gauntlet keeps that chase going. Those slows we talked about. Ebby, well, you can't quite stick to the target. Can't quite run away either.
Yeah. Okay, so I credit to DFM for continuing to look for things, and that's important if they ever want to find something into this game. Also worth noting that Seros has got himself a death cap.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
A big deal, especially when he needs to be doing as much AP damage as he can with the rest of his team being so heavily.
Oh, Udipon's caught.
Udipon is caught, but he's also damn tanky on this center right now, and seems to be surviving pretty well right now. Takes a lot of skill shots and survives thus far. Not the only AD carry getting tanky here.
He's getting pretty tanky. Got himself the Frozen Mallet. Looking towards that Black Cleaver second as well. More HP stacking. More utility as well. That Armor Shroud will be very important for this mixed team of DFM. Trying to get Pantheon and Wukong doing a bit more damage. Of course, Pantheon has himself a Black Cleaver as well. So they're kind of double stacking on that passive. But they're already starting to find it hard to shut down this AD carry. As soon as the Death Dance comes in for Yutorimashi, you're going to have a pretty sublime combo to finish off this Ezreal before he flashes and knees away.
Yeah, and it turns out basically what ADC actually stands for now is All Death Dance Complete. Because all major AD carries at the moment seem to love that item. I'm assuming that'll be the third pick, actually.
Everyone but Varus, actually.
Everyone but Varus.
So, I mean, Sana doesn't build it, but Sana's weird. Yes. She's not really an ADC. She's a hybrid ADC support, kind of.
I suppose you could build Death Dance on Sana. It wouldn't be awful.
No, it's pretty bad.
Is it? Well, why is it bad?
Because you already have healing in your kit. You get CDR from other places.
So it's used to CDR. You got enough healing.
It's not efficient. It's not efficient.
That's the way to phrase it.
And you get more utility out of stuff like the Death Stance and the Frozen Mallet in this way, which means you have to build it later on. You're only on a support budget because you've got that support item. Don't get as much gold as you would do as someone like an Ezreal here. And Ezreal has himself that Death Stance. He has it now. Yutorimashi going forward yet again. It's another right in the mid lane.
Well, it's tanks versus tank. NT has got himself a Stone Blade. It's very, very tanky. Gang throws out that Nature's Grasp one more time, but he's super low. Sap Magic is going to be keeping him alive along with the Dawning Shadow, but Steel is so low. Apperman slays the tree. And Ebby is in the backline trying to do some work, but he's just not enough. And he goes down again. The frontliners of DFM can't stay alive, and Apperman is a monster on this Aatrox.
And the World Ender comes to play, once again playing that front line. Off-tank, brawler, everything. He's not quite Ornn in the roles he fulfills, but when he does his job, he does it damn well. Looks like Sengoku are not even going to step towards the Baron. They're going to go to get themselves the Ocean Drake, make sure that is absolutely out of sight for DFM, take themselves a mid-inhibitor turret as well, then reset across the map.
Yeah, and this Wukong, he's finding what looks like fantastic flanks and has no damage. So goes in and everyone survives.
It says so much that he has to use the Cyclone in a fight to kill NT. That's the first death of the game for the Nautilus. That doesn't win you the fight. You get a kill. You get the cleanup kill. Cool. That's some gold. That means that you don't have follow-up hooks. That's nice. Killing anyone is a pretty good thing at this point. You're now 8k down in this game. You cannot settle for this Ezreal surviving a fight. You can hardly settle for this Perion on the Zoe surviving a fight. If either of those two get away with it, it's pretty much lights out around the objectives.
How much of this is a team win from Sengoku Gaming, and how much of this is just them playing well?
I think a lot of this comes from the fact that Perion survived early game. Yes. I think that if you have the Xerath
and you have a Pantheon as well,
you
should have been able to get a 2v2 there. I agree.
It's not quite the same as playing something like the Trundle, who can just run in and pillar from a distance and then kind of force the Zoe to burn a flash very easily because of that slow which that pillar gives you there. But yeah, no, they did have the tools to try and shut down that early mid lane. But then
so much CC.
As soon as that level 1 happened, where Apperman died, but then Perion got the early shove in mid lane, it became much harder for DFM to do anything about this Zoe.
Yeah. Seros roams first, help with the first blood, but Perion gets to the wave quicker, and that turned into a problem, it turns out.
Blank going forward, so
yeah, Seros in trouble. He's got cleanse, he's got flash, he's going to have to burn that flash. Thinking about going in, though! Here comes the collective damage, but it doesn't matter, because Perion is there with a fantastic paddle star. The T1 duo still got it turns out.
Oh man, when you talk about the follow-up damage and the follow-up range from the Sengoku team, if you get caught in a bad spot, you get hit by one skill shot, you get hit by everything following after it too. Saros goes down for his first death of the game, but it might be the one which seals this game for them. They're going to lose themselves in mid-inhib, going to lose themselves so much in the bot lane
it's
too.
6 towers to 1, Nightmare.
It is. It's huge. There is just so much pressure from the side of Sengoku, and this Ezreal's not getting any weaker either. 5-0 and 8. You sorry? Oh, we might not be mentioning him in all these shouty calls, but he's doing the lion's share of the damage here.
He is, and I think that's another clone from maybe not being caught, but they just don't have damage. We've been over this. Nothing is sticking, and it's really problematic, especially when the damage from that excessive range, the Graves, the Zoe, the Ezreal, with Apperman in the front line with all his damage, it's just absurd.
And you know what's going to be even worse? I think Yutori's working towards a QSS as well. So you're going to be there, and you're going to try and flash Maokai, flash Pantheon into this Ezreal, and he's going to get away with it. And the worst thing is now, with Blank being so far ahead, 3, 2, and 11, he is a secondary AD carry. Maybe not at the same level of Ezreal, don't get me wrong, but he's doing a lot of work. We saw him run down Saros, gets that phase rush active, gets the smoke screen for the slow. You have no choice but to burn summoners, and if you don't have teammates nearby, you don't even have a choice. You just die.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So, DFM, have they got ways into this game? It's going to be a Medjai's in now for Zoe, who has got her. That will be her 4th item, by the way.
Yeah, the Void Staff is there too, just by the by.
So, I think there are potential ways in. Wukong's got a 2nd item. If they can find a way to Ezreal and Zoe, maybe they have a chance. But they need to do it in a way that doesn't allow Graves and Aatrox to run rampant over this game. Look at those damage numbers. It's not bad from Xerath and Wukong, but it's a little bit better from the fact that Zoe and that Ezreal are doing monumental levels of damage.
To me, it is very telling that that Pyrion has more damage than Saros in this game. I don't think that Zoe is in a draft or a lane which is set up to succeed, particularly against the Xerath. You're meant to be bullied in that matchup, and like I was saying, it is against the run of play that Pyrion could win that lane survive in that lane so handily. But then we do ask the question, how can DFM win this? Because we know DFM can problem solve in the late game. We know they can pull out some massive team fights. We could look for a Baron steal. We could look for trying to steal away this Ocean Drake as well. If you steal that away, maybe stall out the game towards maybe 2 steals in a row on the Dragon. Maybe that seals you with the Ocean Soul. But these are such thin, slim pickings.
Man, you're right. I mean, maybe Maokai gets to the point where he's tanky enough that he can hold up a little bit longer. Maybe we can see something from DFM around this Baron, because they have to think about fighting it, because it's going down hella quickly, but they just can't get here.
But if you lose someone trying to steal it, which they're not even going to do, game probably ends as well. If you don't have steal to prop up the front line, use that Aegis to block something like a Paddle Star for his backline, then game's over.
Yeah, we're clutching at straws here for Detonation FocusMe, because that's what they've got left, it feels like, right now. There is a lot of agency.
So is that what Wukong's? He's discarded the staff for the straw.
The straw, exactly.
It is just a very large plastic straw.
Yeah, we definitely seem to have about as much impact as a pool floaty, that's for sure.
So
doesn't have a pool party skin, but I definitely feel like he's cosplaying it right now. Maybe they can find something around this Ocean Drake. And again, this would be Ocean Soul over a Baron plus Ocean Soul. DFM aren't even going to try and start it. That is rough to give over.
What's even worse with that as well is that you have triple Death Stance and a Stone Plate to buy time for the Ocean Soul to come in huge. I think this is amongst the most obnoxious late game comps if you're trying to pick it off I can think of.
Nautilus is going for a locket as well, by the way.
He's
got Aegis in there, and
it's got the
Glacial
Shroud, so I think it's going towards the Zeus Convergence.
Oh, of course. Sorry, apologies. Yes, that would make sense.
I say that. I don't play support enough to know the build path exactly of something like that.
Okay, well, I'll trust you. Not always a good idea, because I remember a recent conversation where you were a little wrong on certain Haunting Guys prices.
I was 100 gold off of saying what price Haunting Guys was.
But I was exactly right, and that's all that really matters.
Who is not 100 gold off, but more like 10,000 is DFM compared to Sengoku right now. Apperman teleporting into this top lane, level 18 with a GA alongside a Spirit Visage. This guy is so ungodly tanky.
Yeah, it's Ocean Soul, it's Death Stance, it's just not enough consistent damage from DFM. I mean, how do you kill Aatrox? Like, you don't have a consistent damage AD carry.
You've
got a Wukong and you've got a Xerath.
You have to kill his team first, and that's what we're looking for. We're looking for Utorimashi to step out of line, maybe get caught by something by going.
Here we go. Right, Gang's going in, but they've only onto Blank, who's super, super tanky. They're trying to find something with the Dawning Shadow, but Appleman's in the back line. Ebi's found his way onto Blank, but Blank just flashes away and gets out again. Gang has gone golden, but he's going to die. It'll be something, maybe Remy, but Blank is surviving.
Ocean Soul!
What is this monstrosity? It's a 2-for-1 right now, but it's not going to be for much longer. It's a double for Pyrion, and that will be all she wrote. Sengoku Gaming strike first in the summer split. They'll get vengeance for the spring finals, rather, and they will go 1-0 in the split over DFM thus far.
And try as they might, DFM cannot overcome this ungodly drain tank team of Sengoku, which they built out of an Ocean Soul and many, many dances with death. A clean win, all things said and done, for Sengoku Gaming.
Wow. Well, we'll come back to tell you a little bit more about this game, but we're going to go on a very swift break to collate our thoughts and give you the best post-game we possibly can. Go absolutely nowhere, and we'll be right back.
Hello everybody, and welcome back to the LJL Official, the Unofficial cast. I am still your host, Alex, otherwise known as X by Master on the internet. Of course, I am joined by the illustrious duo that is the Hapgood brother duo of Initialize and Nymera. Gentlemen, our first upset in our predictions has occurred. DFM, our spring split champions, defeated in their first game versus their rivals. Initialize, man. They're no longer pretenders. They're the real deal, and they're coming for that crown. Gentlemen, let's start at the very beginning of that game. It didn't go very well for Sengoku. They had plans and it all fell apart at the beginning. Go on, who wants to take this first?
I want to take this one. Because I brought up so much in cast, and of course it focuses a little bit on the lane, which I play and focus on too. Level 1 was bad from the perspective of Appman. Obviously goes down and burns his flash, first blood over to the Pantheon. Okay, these are not good things. The caveat is Seros does not get the early shove in mid lane, doesn't get to land that poke on Pyrion, and then the Zoe survives lane. This is not what we saw the last time DFM brought this out, and I think having that taken away from them really shook their game plan.
Yeah, to follow on with that, I mean, part of it is just Pyrion uses his teleport so damn well. Seros ran the cleanse, he backed early to get that second Doran's, but because Pyrion got to the wave first in level 1, got to use the teleport better, he gets out to that early CS advantage. Yes, he's taking damage, but it doesn't matter because he runs the spellbook, gets to run the heal, gets to use the teleport. It means that yes, the Seros is getting poke damage, but it doesn't matter. He gets to stay even in a head early in the game in the CS, and he gets to a point where he just absolutely craps out damage with the range of Ezreal and Graves on top of it.
Yeah, I think for a lot of that game, he was about 5 to 10 CS over Syros,
Teleport,
which is not meant to be happening. But yeah, that teleport really coming in clutch. Let's talk about, though, the man of the hour in this game. Well, actually, there's technically two, but we're going upstairs. We're going up to the top lane. Apperman! If you keep playing like this, you're going to start winning awards for top lane, because Apperman things seems to be the way to play this game. Go on, you're both at a loss for words. I'll let you fight over this one.
This is the closest thing to Darian since Darian.
But he goes 0-3. He goes 0-3-1. Dies for first blood. Dies in a solo kill. Still up in CS. Still gets all this pressure down. And some way, somehow, he finds a way to be relevant despite, like, randomly dying in isolated deaths, like, all times in the game.
I think the Shy needs to take some notes from Apperman here if we're saying anything. You can go negative in lane, but you can win the game. Ebby, like, this was Ebby on Wukong. I called this draft, and then it just fell apart completely. Let's actually talk a little bit about this composition exactly, as you gentlemen talked about it towards the end. That damage output from DFM never came through, and what really happened? Go on, Initialize. Go on. You've been pondering and muttering about this for a bit.
I'll be swift, because I know Nightmare's got some good thoughts on this one too. Okay. But I think part of it is you saw the idea from DFM is they've got Pantheon coming in, they've got the Xerath ult coming in, they try to turn up in a side lane with all the global ultimates and hit something.
Yep.
They tried that on Apperman, didn't quite kill him quick enough, and guess who turns up? It's the SKT duo. It is Pyrion and Blank turn up multiple times, and they turn around what looks like a global play from DFM really, really well multiple times.
Go on, Nightmare. Go on.
I mean, Death Stance.
Yeah,
that's an item.
Not just because of that as well. I mean, Apperman Brambleverse first went into Black Cleaver, had a Spirit Visage, had himself a GA at the end of the game as well. Apperman loves to build tank on his Aatrox, and as long as he's still hitting targets with that Death Stance rolling on as well, he just keeps regenerating HP. And this Wukong was not far enough ahead as you're typing to us in the game. It's like, Ebby's really far behind. What's he doing? Ebby's running out of damage. Ebby has no damage. He's not running out of damage. He never had any.
It began, but then it never began to begin with, so it was never there.
It just got to this point where, like, it doesn't matter if everything... We saw points where literally, like, Blank was tanking the entire team on the Graves.
Yeah.
And he's not even the tank.
No.
But it just got to the point where, like, the damage doesn't stick. It doesn't stick at all. And that's without a Yuumi.
Well, this was when, like, Ebby was on Blank for about
multiple times.
30 seconds, well, at the very end, and was on him, and it's like, well, Blank was like, well, I can just tank Ebby, and then the rest of the DFM died. There is a lane we haven't covered, gentlemen, and it's kind of the lane where most of the damage came from. Enti and Yutori Muashi went into Utapon and Gang and said, well, Gang, you're going to have the worst game I think we've ever seen you have in the LJL.
It's not great.
The first week of it. That was unexpected for us to view, and Utapon just never really appeared to show up on the center. It does take a while for centers to turn online, but God, Yutori Muashi was having a masterclass with this game, wasn't he, gentlemen?
2 items on Ezreal. That's all you need. Everything else can be defensive. And Ezreal could keep outputting damage, and there just wasn't anything in response from the bot lane of DFM. I think it's a draft thing, half of it, right? Yeah. Because they didn't have the tools to deal with an Ezreal.
No, not consistent enough damage, actually, honestly, because you saw they go for the kind of the burst combo. They've got the Wukong coming in with the Pantheon, with the Xerath, with the Senna, who try and hit one target, blow them up. Off in a side lane, you snowball from that. When you eventually get an Aatrox, however many items he had, and Ocean Soul, and Death Stance, and there were 3 Death Stance on the side of Sengoku Gaming, by the way, the poke doesn't matter. You don't have consistent damage. Your backline is running away. It doesn't work. And then there's Yutori Miyashi, who just hits every skill shot.
The goggles, they do nothing because Ezreal has the goggles. He has the goggles. You can't attack him. Gentlemen, we have seen an upset happen, and I hate to really reiterate on that point, but it's just how that went. All of us predicted DFM to win, and all of us were wrong by that. But maybe we will be right the second time round, as we will be seeing Detonation FocusMe face off against the Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks Gaming in our second to last match of the day. Be sure to not go anywhere. We'll be right back very, very soon with more LJL action. Stay tuned.